swear I won't forget this. Why do I regret this? In my mind reckless, thoughts are feeling endless.
What is going on? It's been a long time since I've talked to everybody, a whole week, and I know you guys missed me. First thing I want to do is when I get stuff like this, it kind of makes me really excited to do more. So I get a message from our good friend Greg at Fields Hobby, and I get a picture of this. Let's see if I can just blow that up. Okay, so I don't know if you guys can see that real well. Well, that nerd in that picture is me. And what's going on, Rich? What's going on, Jay? So the picture that I have up, yes, I remember to unmute myself this time. That picture of me kind of got me excited when I could see this. When I see a picture of this at, a local hobby shop, even though I love everybody there, even though we have some funny words for each other when we go in there, seeing that makes me excited about doing even more for you guys, for the hobby local. So that gives me a little bit of excitement to do a lot more. Even though I just wanted to do this first viewers ride thing kind of by myself, so I can figure out some information and some things to keep me moving as far as on the side while they're talking and answering questions. Oh, here we go already with that. I'm always that excited, especially when I'm learning to do more on the program, as well as learning to do more in person and live. Sorry if you keep watching my eyes go that way. I'm trying to also learn to focus on the TV and not the laptop. So the live for the March tractor pulls. Man, we have 5 viewers and already it's off to a good start, Jay. But I just excited to do the live. Me and Tom were playing around at the compound for the tractor pulls. Everything worked flawless. My internet box worked out there perfect. I know that's going to be a long day as far as running the camera and answering questions, just in case most people can't make it. I'm going to try to. I might try to bring it to the pole. I don't know if I'll run it. I mean, it is set up to hook up and pull, but with doing the live feed, as Tom's seen, there's really, I need to stop by Rick and see Jillian. I know you weren't so happy with me roughing her up that one day and then making her go home with you guys, all wild. But once again, I do eye candy. Yes. Well, you know me, Jay. Almost everything I have is eye candy. I'm not really picking this up too much because the sucker is heavy. But me and Tom were doing the tractor pulls and testing it for the live, as some of you guys seen. And I think it's going to work out really well. I just have to figure out how to get the guys from the tractor pulls over to either the YouTube or the Facebook so that they can tune in. I think this will be a good idea and something awesome for the tractor pulls so that more people can see and have fun while not being able to be there. They can see the different things that pull. I mean, I don't mind bringing this. It's not really set up as far as speed and torque to pull. That's what my spring project for this sucker is. Like I said, I mean, it's a heavy pig. It's weighted perfectly for the front. So the tractor pulls will work really well for this. But once again, if I'm doing a live feed, it's going to be hard for me to run a truck because, as Tom's seen, it was a lot of work just sitting there operating the camera and staring at the computer answering questions. I want to be able to relay the questions to Tom and Joe somehow as well. So I might be figuring out, I have some extra HDMI cables. So I may try to set up one of my spare monitors over by Joe so that every once in a while he can look and see if there is any questions. I can relay them, he can read them, and try to piggyback off each other. But anyways, I'm going to get rid of this. I know, let's see here. I know Tom says I say a lot of ums, and I'm working on that. I'm going to try to get it down to about maybe 10 this time. But, so, a little bit about this. I came to acquire it from my good friend Mike Deemer, who always comes across cool stuff, and this is one of them. I forgot where it actually came from. I think, was it Chris Allen or Terry Phillips or something like that is originally where it came from. I just can't remember 100% sure. What's going on, Mike? I know every once in a while you still message me about this going, if you don't ever want to get rid of it, let you know. But as you know, I am a collector of weird stuff, and this is by far one of them and one of my favorites. That's why it doesn't come out too often and get pounded on. But with that being said, oh, there's another sorry, Tom. But my plans for this is to go through it. I mean, it works really well. It's got a 1060 and a 35 turn cross RC motor in there brushed. 1060, as we all know, doesn't have much for tuning options. So that needs to go. It is a 2-speed, which works out really well. I do have it hooked up. I never really put it in high gear. And when I do put it in high gear, there's just not enough power. It is a beautiful truck. Yes, it is. And the addition to the front winch painted to match, I'm also going to build a plate in the rear to also run a winch in the rear. Maybe. I'm not sure yet. It depends on how I feel after I put a new. I'm going to probably go with a fusion setup in it and tune this thing to be able to just fly up a hill, because the one tractor, the cookout. The week before the cookout, I took this out with a trailer and my little mini excavator on it, and it had a hard time going up some of the hills, just didn't have that speed it needed. So I think a nice little fusion setup in this will be perfect. I could get rid of the 1060 in the front. Yes, there is a light kit in it. It's consistently on. So as soon as you plug the battery in, they come on. One of the wires came off on the one headlight on me last year, so I just have to fix that, which is no big deal. I just have to solder the end back on. Rear taillights work as well. I do have the canopy, but usually there's always something in the back when I go out, so I never really run the canopy. Let's see here. Let me do this. I'm getting faster at this. I'm just letting you guys know that now. So, okay. Let me add this to the stream. Okay. I'm hoping everybody can see my screen of the Cross RC website. I figure I will do this because it allows you guys to see everything that I'm seeing on the back end and we can talk about it. So, this is the HC-6 Cross RC military truck. As you can see, I mean, you can paint it any color you want. This one was already pre-painted camo, which didn't really matter to me because I'm a big nerd for Army colored trucks. But as you can see, I mean, stock, you can see it came with a winch. I think it was an add-on. I had to go on Amazon for $35. I found a winch, as well as I went to Fields and picked up a winch controller, wireless winch controller, which works out perfect. The winch is definitely perfect if you're winching somebody else out, but this winch from Amazon is not strong enough to pull this 20-pound pig up a hill. So it will recover others. It will recover itself if there is another vehicle that is hooked to it, giving it a little pull. Now, as you can see, in this image right here, you can see there's a couple different Cross RC wheels and tires for it. Let me see here. Okay. Let's go back to here. A few different people put different wheels and tires on it. This one, like I said, was already pre-painted, so I didn't really care to change anything up. It works really well. It looks pretty good in my opinion, except for the few scratches that I put on it. Interior, and if everything wasn't glued together, interior I would probably pull apart and I would detail to the max, maybe put a little light in there, maybe light up the dash a little bit, but that's just me being picky. Now, underneath, as you guys can see, I will show you mine as well in a second, but it's pretty solid. Metal drive shafts are pretty solid. Everything is steel. You have a reverse leaf spring setup with, let's see if I can do this, fellers. All right. So, now you really can't see from that image. So, let's go back down here. But it's got a reverse leaf spring setup on it, and it has these little rods. There's little rods down here. You really can't see them because they're painted to match. They just kind of keep everything so that everything flexes really good in the rear. Let me come back here. Let me remove this from the screen. So as you can see, the way they got the reverse leaf spring set up, this works out really well over rocks and bumps. The flex is really good. The front flex is pretty decent, but obviously it's a heavy truck, so everything stays planted. The overall diffs, all metal. Everything works out. Like I said, it's tough. It does its thing on the trails. Like I said, I just wish, the interior wasn't glued together, and I don't want to strip anything apart to try to and detail it a little bit better. I really don't have much plans as far as any other upgrades on it. Like I said, other than the fusion, and I would probably like to do, there's enough room underneath there to put another winch and behind the bumper, keep it hidden. But that's really about it. If anything, maybe a stronger winch in the front would be ideal, but it also has all the D-rings, and that's for the winch. I got to change it out to a hook style. It has, I actually flipped this to be able to pull a trailer. So this in the back has been flipped. Oh, there's another, sorry, Tom, I'm up to like 6 now. But I reversed it, drilled a couple new holes, made everything line up. So that works out really well. I would also like to hook the lights to another channel to be able to turn them on and off. What is going on, JP? I know we're not talking about a drift car. I know we're on military trucks today, but you'll get your chance to show off your drift cars. And I hope I get to show off Josh's too, because I've seen some pictures. I don't know if he showed you as well, JP, but the pictures of his drift car Beamer are looking sweet. I like the little add-ons he's doing to it. Don't really want to discuss too much about it, just in case he's keeping it hidden. But let's go back to this here. Okay. So, as you can see, it's got this weird little, I hope you guys can see my hand as I'm on the screen, but it's got that weird little bar. I'm not really a fan because it's really, I don't know, I want to say it doesn't seem tough. I would like to strengthen that with something else eventually. But this thing bounced off some of the rocks in the backyard course, and I haven't had no issues. As you can see, the D-rings I haven't added. They're pretty much stock. Their winch has, like, I don't know, a nylon string on it. I have a steel cable, which I want to strip out, and I would like to pull, like, me and Tom, we've been trying out, which worked really, really well. I didn't think it was going to work. I think it was 300-pound test fishing line, and I would like to add that to this because this cable is just too stiff. It's annoying, and I'd like to get rid of it. Plus, with the nylon fishing line that we used with the 300-pound test, you can get like 100 feet or more on these little winches, which is awesome. Because we have people that like to sometimes fall down a hill, and it'd be cool to get some videos recovering them. We're not going to say the name again, because if you watch previous, you know who I am talking about. So, let's go back to... Okay. As we move back, nothing really else to talk about. Obviously, you can see the girth and how rigid the front axle is. Mine are the same color. I am probably going to tear them apart one day and probably have them powder coated or painted a military color so that they kind of blend in with the truck. Let's see. Let's go to... Okay. Now, according to this, as you can see, the flex, I want to say it's kind of exaggerated a little bit, but I mean, you can see yeah, it's kind of, I think it is kind of exaggerated a little bit, but you can see the leaf spring setup, the rear end. I mean, everything is solid. Everything in this thing is pretty durable. Let's see. Motor, the motor is 35 turn according to what it says on the motor itself. On the website, it doesn't give you much info. This one says 45 turn. Mine's a 35 turn for some reason. Yes, mine is a 35 turn. I don't know why that's saying 45, but mine says 35. So I don't know what happened there. But solid transmission, transfer case. I really ain't going to complain. I have no issues with it. I mean, it's a little noisy like all cross RC trucks are. But once again, I mean, it's smooth. It runs smooth. It drives smooth. So I really haven't torn it apart to re-grease it yet because I haven't really driven it. And it hasn't given me no issues. You can also see the 2-speed servo, and I don't know what is actually in this for a servo. Let's see. So this one has an Eco Power in it, and I don't think anybody put an Eco Power. I think I changed the servos to Eco Powers when I first got it. That's how many vehicles I haven't changed. I can't remember much. Fly fishing leader line for me is working amazing and can be different colors. Yes, I did some research and I found really cheap on Amazon, 300-pound test. And we put it to the test for my Suburban 6x6 Axial. Let's remove this. So my Axial 6x6 Suburban, as most of you guys know, it's completely custom. There's nothing original. Sound kit, rear winch, front winch, tow boom. Let's see, what else is that? That thing's got front and rear lights. It's just got sound kit. It has everything. And so we were just messing around. I looked around and from the old fishing days, I found 300-pound test, and I'm like, that's got to work. And so far, I believe Tom has put it on a couple of his trucks. I use it on my Suburban, my front and rear winches, and I put it to the test trying to get the stuck TRX4 Sport out of our mud pit. And it worked so well that it didn't stretch the line, didn't break the line, it blew the winch. Literally, I took the winch apart and the gears inside were shredded, which is all right. I mean, it's a cheap winch, not a big deal. I had a spare, so I threw a spare one on there and it's back in action. But I did the same thing. I took the 300-pound test line and I think I have 50 feet on that one. And it works perfect. I got that winch line on my 6x6. Holds up well. Tom put it on my... And Mike, is that the green stuff? I know I told him to leave it there. I think that spool was 500 or 1,000 feet or something like that. It was a big spool. And so far it's on both of my winches. It'll be on this one. This one, like I said, I want 100 feet. And then I want to do a snatch block on it. I want to make sure that this thing's pretty solid when it goes out, just like my my Mammoth. I figure if I'm going to have two solid vehicles, I might as well have them ready and be put to the test. So, let's go back to, sorry, jumping back and forth, but I want to figure out a way to make this easier for future viewers' rides, as far as either getting pictures and videos up of your ride in action, or getting the stock information and then comparing it to what you guys have done. So as you can see, the size of the transmission is massive. There's enough room for me. According to my measurements, there is enough room for me to just fit a fusion system in there if that's what I decide to go with, which it seems like that's going to be the best bet. Now, inside the transmission, you can see nothing is plastic. Everything is metal gears. So it is loud. Once again, I'm going to eventually tear it apart, probably before the spring, maybe in spring when I do the motor. But I just want to re-grease everything and make sure everything's good, which everything seems solid and smooth. Let's see. Okay, tires. This is exactly what I got. Not very sticky. Once they get a little coating of dirt on them, they just start spinning. They're good if you wash them down before you go out. But once again, once they get dirty, they're not very usable, which I really don't care. I'm not really trying to put this thing through a beat test. I just want it for cool situations and to bring it out on the trail. Now, if I didn't have the bed on it, that's what it would look like. You can see it's got a metal, let's see here. Yes, yes, it is a metal rim. Yes, definitely a metal rim. Basically the same thing as I got. Okay, let's see here. No, it's definitely a metal rim, but it is, that's weird. It's different than what is on there. Not a big deal. So, let's see here. Go here. Remove this. So, this is the spare wheel. As you can see, it's slightly different than what's on there, but not a big deal. Mine faces this way, so you really can't see it other than the back, which I should probably face it the other way so people can see the wheel. But I never really paid attention because I never had to do this before. Yes, green stuff, definitely heavy duty. Yes. And like you've seen me put it to the test on the DRX4 when I put the Suburban in the front and tried to give it a yank. And I think you were still there when I destroyed the winch, and all the winch line I had to just throw in the back of the truck and then start with the back, and the back winch wasn't doing it either. So that's why we had to pull out the Mammoth. But so the rear wheel and tire is the same. Wheel is different. Not a big deal. I mean, the only thing I might do is I might scuff it up and paint it the same color to match so everything is identical. It doesn't have to be done, but I'm a little weird. So let's go back. Okay, interior. As you can see, the interior, pretty basic, just like a military truck would be. You know, if you've ever seen a deuce and a half or anything like that, there's really not much in them. Gauge is obviously in a different spot. It's not modeled exactly like that. Me personally, I wish I would have got this before everything was glued together. No offense to the person that had it first, but that's just me being picky. I would have loved to redo up the interior like a nerd and possibly put some lights in the dash, or at least a dome overhead light would have been cool, but not a big deal. That's the only thing I'm missing is I got to order the mirrors. I would really like to see it with the mirrors on it, painted to match. But without the mirrors, it's kind of nice because I don't have to worry about if I hit something, because they might snap off and I would have a heart attack. So I'm kind of glad it doesn't have the mirrors, but I will order them and probably put them on. The other thing is it didn't come with the windshield wipers, which I would like to get because I know I can't damage those. But that's what it looks like with the mirrors, which looks awesome, which leads me to believe every time I look at this, I definitely need the windshield wipers and put the mirrors on to make it even better. Somebody kind of glued them, so I would have to pre-drill the holes again and then add the hinges and the brackets, which I hope they sell separately. I've never looked into it. So I better get on that before spring. Comes with detailed instructions, all the information. Most of you guys, and it is out of stock, and they don't know when it's coming back in stock, according to what I heard about Cross RC. So I'm assuming these things are becoming more and more popular, which is kind of a good thing. But as you can see, it comes with all the dimensions. Everything's obviously in millimeters with Cross RC. I'm not going to sit here and convert that because I'm not that smart. So I'm not going to convert that into inches for everybody. Okay. But once again, I wish I did have the mirrors. I wish I did have the wipers. So eventually I think that something's rattling around in here. Oh, winch controller. But once again, I don't think it was on those pictures yet, but battery goes in here nice and easy, hidden out of the way, easy to get to. I actually fit my 6,000 milliamp 3S in this, but I usually run the 5200. I mean, this thing seems built pretty tough, but I also don't want to run a 3S in this and destroy anything, which I put the 3S in this and it ran perfectly fine. I didn't have no issues, but once again, except for the power issue out of the 1060. 1060 is a good ESC, but with this heavy pig, it's not that good, and you need some tuning options. Let's see here. So back to, let's see here, add this. Okay, so as you can see, a little bit closer up, it's got all the headlights in it, but one power lead came out, so right now I don't have it in the receiver until I solder the wires. I got my new soldering station, so that is on my list of things to do when I tear everything apart and give it a good once over, because like I said, I want to run this thing quite a bit this year and have some fun with it, maybe do a little bit more details to it. But the winch looks sweet. It looks old. I kind of wish my winch looked like that, like an old Ramsey style winch. The chains, I actually have the chains that I usually run in the front like that. I actually took them out for this video. They're usually inside the bucket where I keep the winch controller and where the battery goes. And then I usually throw them on the day of instead of them staying on there and scratching up the bumper all the time. Let's see here. As you can see, that's the battery box. I don't know if that is 100% supposed to be the battery box, but the opening inside looks like it is cut for the wires perfectly. So I'm going to assume this was definitely for the battery box, which, like I said, works perfect, works really good, keeps everything hidden, doesn't add no additional weight to the top because the thing is so heavy on the bottom. Let's see. There's really nothing else to see on that. Back end, as you can see, looks really good. The rear tailgate comes down with no issues. I mean, this thing is actually really cool. I don't really, let's see. Yeah, the sides don't come down. I kind of wish they did to a certain extent. But on mine, it does not look like they come down, but it looks like it could have at one time. Not a big deal. I don't know. I don't really know if that was supposed to come down, but the back tailgate comes down just with these two little flaps. These little latches here on the back, on the sides, those come down. And it looks really cool when you have the canopy over it and you have this down. And I usually set something in the back, and I usually nerd out and take pictures for my own personal use. But you can see the two lights. They're not really bright. They're kind of like they would be old school, like if they were running on a generator instead of an actual alternator. So they are kind of dim, which is cool. They're not bright red. They're kind of dimmed red, which is also really cool. I don't know if they're supposed to be like that, but I mean, mine are, and I think it looks cool. It matches the era of the truck. Like I said, the front end is just cool. It's just mean and cool. Like I said, I wish this had the actual mirrors on the side as well as the wipers. And once again, after looking at all these images again for the first time in forever, I really am thinking of ordering them up and giving them a paint scheme to match the rest of the truck. But as you can see, I mean, it's solid. It really is. And as if you can see the actual underneath the differential and everything, that is kind of what I want to do. I want to paint everything up to match like it would be in the military. Obviously, if it's coming through the military, the axles ain't going to be shiny and all polished up, and all the links ain't going to be chrome. So I would really like to do this up the right way. Let's see. As you can, I forgot which one that one next to it is, but that one's cool too. I mean, Cross RC is just, their trucks are just really, really, really good. This truck is really good. It is one of my favorites. That's why it doesn't come out too much. But once again, that is going to change this year as I upgrade the motor to a Fusion setup, tune it really good, get everything dialed in 100%. It works. It's just underpowered with the brushed motor and the 1060. A 1080 would be an upgrade and it would work, but this thing still is too heavy, I think, for the brushed motor, because last year the brushed motor got really, really, really warm trying to go up the one hill that most people don't know about it, but we get, for the cookout, we get the same shelter and we go down the same hill and up the same hill to get to the creek and the bridge. And I didn't bring this one with me because after taking it out and testing it with a trailer, the brush motor got way, way too hot. The 1060 got way too hot trying to go up some of the hills, and the tires just did not work out well. It was underpowered. So I think with a good fusion setup in this, I think it'll be a little bit more usable. I can't do what the Mammoth has in it, the BC8 Mammoth from Cross RC, because the motor is this big, which eventually I will pull that. Yes, definitely going with something Hobby Wing. Like I said, you know, the fusion setup is in my mind right now. But like I said, I'm going to see what others are using. I don't really like to steal others' ideas, if you guys know what I mean. Because if you see me on the trail, I usually have something that nobody else has out there. And if I see somebody going out with a truck like mine, I will go and switch it for something else. Only because when I videotape, I don't want to see 10 of the same trucks. I like to see different styles. Nothing against anybody. It's just when I put a video together, when you see 7 of the same TRX4 Sports in a row, nothing against the TRX4 Sport, because my wife has one too. Well, I mean, I had one and then had a custom done for her, but there's nothing like having your own style truck out on the trails. And like I said, I would like to use this one more. And like Mike Crawl said, a Hobby Wing axe setup in this would work perfect with the tunability. And this thing needs tunability on the fly. Plugging it in is not an option because the weight of this thing is, I mean, it's solid. But let's go back to some of the specs, and then I'll show you more of my truck. Okay. Rear axle setup, as you can see, they did a really good job. It allows for really good flex. Each axle flexes differently. It really works out really good. Cross RC and their rear axle setup, same thing with the, I want to call it the I-beam axle setup in the rear of the Mammoth, the BC8 Mammoth. It's basically one rod with a pin, and it allows the rear axle to go crazy, which is perfect because these trucks are so heavy. I mean, if they're not flexing properly, they're pretty much useless because of the weight. And if it's, you keep the stock brushed setup in it. But you can see, you know, the axles right here, the leaf springs are flipped, which works out really well. The axles itself, they're solid. Like when I hit something with this thing, it moves boulders. The bed looks good. The wheels, you can see, I wish I could do something about the drive shaft angles. If I could get those a little straighter, that would be better too. It wouldn't scare me too much, but it does what it's supposed to do. Another side shot, which just shows how nice this truck really is. Same thing with the back. Like I said, this is one of my favorites. That's why it's never really comes out. As you can see, the flex is, I mean, why their flex looks like it shows even better than it is, I have no clue. But mine doesn't flex like that, and doesn't really bother me. I don't know if it's something to do with the bed, which I don't see anything to do with the bed, but I don't know. I don't know why it shows so much flex. Even the rear seems to flex a little more than the middle axle, which, like I said, I mean, the way it flexes, it does the job really well. Now, let's see here. Let's go to the description. So you have steel gears. I did take the front axles apart, and I don't know if it was the front axles, all the gears inside, everything is solid metal. So all steel gears, they're not lying about that. In the transmission, same thing. Alloy transfer case, alloy axles, steel drive shafts, leaf spring and dampener suspension works really, really well. Super scale chassis, it's basically a straight solid C-channeled frame, and there is not one little bit of twist. It is 100% solid all the way throughout. Scale beadlock wheels, they are a light metal beadlock wheel. It does kind of fit the old school military style. The only thing which I want to say somebody didn't put them in, but there are holes for them. Don't have all the bolt holes around here. I don't know what happened or what, but there's all kinds of little holes around here, you know, that the military trucks would have. But there's no screws in them. So I don't know if somebody decided, well, that looks like work, I'm not going to do that, which it is a lot of work to do that. But once again, I will try to find the right screws and do that, because if we pull the old spare out, you can see that, I don't know if you'll be able to see that, but you can see that all those little screws or bolts are all the way around the whole wheel. So if the spare has it, obviously the rest of the truck should have it as well. So that is another thing on the list. Yes, like I said, definitely going to go probably with the Fusion Pro just for simplicity on this thing. I don't want to add any extra wires. I don't want to go too crazy. The only other thing I may try to do is I want to get with Tom and maybe run the front and rear winches on a 1060 or 1080 so that I have a little bit more oomph for pulling, especially because I plan on taking this out with the Mammoth on our backyard course. And when one of them gets stuck or hung up, I want to pull one, either this or the Mammoth. Whatever one doesn't get stuck, I want to pull up with this and have the strength to be able to pull, because the Mammoth, BC8 Mammoth from Cross RC, is no joke. That sucker is heavy and solid. So if this thing needs to pull that, this winch has to be tough. But let's go back to here. Scale beadlock truck wheels, like I said, mine's missing all the screws all the way around it, or bolts, depending on what you want to call them. Me, they screw in, so they're screws. But I would like to do that to add that other look to the beadlock wheels. The ABS hard body with scale interior. I like the little driver he's got in there, so that doesn't bother me. He's in there really well, works out good. I just wish this wasn't glued together when I got it, so I can actually detail the interior the way I wanted to. Might still try to add a light in there somehow without breaking anything. But the body is kind of solid. I mean, I wouldn't go beating the ever-loving crap out of it, but it works out really well. It's took a few hits and hasn't cracked, but the big solid steel bumper kind of kind of pushes things out of the way so that the body doesn't get damaged. Rear bed with working tailgate and tools, or toolboxes. Like I said, that speaks for itself. It looks good. It's really good. It looks cool with the canopy top on it. I don't have the canopy top with it right now. I have it upstairs in a box. But like I said, I may plan on running that on this as well, just because it looks neat. It's just a pain in the butt for the green canvas top. It's a pain in the butt to clean it. It kind of, if it gets mud stains on it, it looks like peppered poop, and I'm not a big fan of it. Let's see, the alloy chassis. Once again, this chassis is just solid. There's no frame twist. You can grab this thing, manly man it, and twist and pull, and it's just 100% solid, just like all the other Cross RC trucks I have. Scale composite lighting. That the housing and everything are pretty solid. I mean, I wouldn't go hammering on them, but they work pretty well. I mean, I would still be scared to give them a whack or two on some rocks. Features, assembled axles. I didn't get it as a kit, so I didn't get to go through the axles, but I did take the pumpkin covers out to re-grease them, and everything in there was good, and it was definitely solid. There was nothing really from Cross RC that I had to fix. There was no play in the gears or nothing. Everything seemed to be nice and tight. Assembled gearbox with installed motor. Once again, mine says 35 turn. The stock one says 45 turn. I don't know what is going on there. But I know whoever installed it may have had a 45 turn somewhere down the road, somehow a 35 turn. I have no idea how that got in there. But so the gearbox, I haven't taken anything around, like the transfer case or the transmission has not been removed yet by me. So I'm kind of curious how dry it is in there, being pretty much pre-assembled. So I don't know if anybody's been in there and re-greased it yet, but that's one thing I plan on doing. Detailed illustrated instructions with Chinese manual with Chinese text. I didn't get the manual with this, and I'm not very fluent in Chinese, and I don't plan on it. So we're just gonna leave it at that. Which the instructions are probably in English too. So truck kits require radio gear with receiver, 2 servos, and 4 channels recommended. I do have a 4 channel down there. I was having some issues with the 2-speed last time I took it out, so I just unplugged the 2-speed and left it in low gear because I never really go anywhere that fast. But I'm pretty sure I put 2 EcoPower servos in it because of the weight. I'm not 100% sure if I did that or if somebody did that before me. I can't really remember as I've been working on so many trucks lately. Obviously, you need the electronic speed controller. Somebody put a 1060 in there. It works, but it's underpowered for what I would like to use this for. Battery 6-cell flat with standard Tamiya connector or equivalent. Obviously, we get rid of those right away because those things start on fire. Charger, suitable for above battery. This thing handles 2S and 3S, no issues, but that's also because, like I said, it's been upgraded to a 1060, so that all depends on what you would put in it. Tools and paints to complete the RC model. Obviously, that's a given. And as you can see right here, that is the kit I have for it. It looks really neat on it. The sides roll up, the back rolls up, so you can just have the canopy top, which I should have brought out and showed you guys, but I didn't feel like unpacking it because I cleaned it and I didn't want to get it dirty because it was a pain in the butt to clean after it got spotted up and peppered full of poop when we were out on the trails. So the weight. They don't really tell you the weight if this is the weight before the electronics are in it, but as you can see, it's 17.1 pounds. With the battery, I would assume that is just the kit alone assembled, not with your battery and everything. So this thing is probably with battery and everything in it and the metal winch in the front. It's probably got to be all of 20 pounds. And when you're driving it and it hits a rock, it sounds like it's 50 pounds. But I'm not going to complain because if most of you guys know me, I, once again, am a cross RC nerd. So, once again, this, real easy, folds down. It's with these latches on the side. They just kind of go in, and this one I have to rebend because that one got caught on something in the backyard course. But real easy, they just fold over and latch. Then you can roll up the back canopy and you can have it down. And I think I had some G.I. Joes in there last year, just kind of sitting on the side, so that when this was down and it was cruising the backyard course, they were just sitting there. It looked really cool. But once again, that canopy, I try not to use that canopy too much because when it gets peppered with a little bit of dirt and poop, it is terrible to clean. Oh my God, I've been at this for an hour already. But cab, easy to come off. There's a screw on each side here that you can put in to hold the body down. But the way I got the winch and everything, this thing, once it's completely locked down, it doesn't really do anything. It's pretty much on there unless you give it a good, pull. But once again, as you can see, when I got it, some of the wires for the lights, where are you here? This one here came off, and this one here came off. It was just laying in there when I went to go plug it in. So I just kind of put it to the side. All the wires for the rear lights are ran. They're inside here. I just unhooked everything for now until I fix the lights because I'm not going to go cruise around with only a few lights working and look like I'm broke and cheap. So, but metal shocks, really, I mean, there's really nothing to them. Rear front leaf springs work really good. I think their flex that they're doing is, like I said, I mean, it's kind of exaggerated, or I don't know, maybe mine just needs some more adjustments. But the body just clips in like this into these two little horseshoe style clips. Eventually, I'm working on putting an overhead camera in so that I can switch between cameras so that you guys can see. If I start pointing to stuff, you guys can actually see, because taking a 20-pound truck and consistently doing this with it is kind of a pain in the rectum. But for some reason, mine says 35 turn on the bottom instead of 45. So I don't know what happened there. Probably not. I have no idea, because I always thought Cross RC used 45 turns as well. So I have no clue what happened there. But EcoPower servo in the front, which I think is a little bit too much for this truck, because when it pushes it against rocks and stuff, I'm scared that it is going to damage the links here. They are really thin, and this truck is really heavy. So I might switch out to a different servo. And instead of breaking something, I would rather break a different, cheaper servo than to break anything on the truck and have to wait for parts to come in. Not that I really put a beating on this thing anyways. So once again, all metal drive shafts. I'm going to actually take this out. Let's see here. So you guys can actually see all metal drive shafts, metal transmission. metal axle housings, or alloy, sorry. Leaf sprung. As you can see, it's got these little kind of, we'll call it like a fake 4-link, 3-link setup on it. But I mean, allows the axles, everything to move really well. This is just like a cheap plastic servo mount. I kind of wish that one was metal too, just so that I know everything was strong. Obviously, I know you don't need much to do the 2-speed in it, but when this thing's in low gear, this thing's in low gear. You hear what you hear now is what you hear going through the trails. This thing is loud, but once again, in the axles I didn't see any issue, so I like to pull the transmission apart as well as the transfer case, and just make sure everything is good, nothing is out of whack. But I mean, for what it is, I mean, it seems to do its job fine, so I guarantee there's no problems inside there. 2-speed worked out well, but once in a while I had an issue. I think it's the controller, so I might change out the RXTX in this year as well, so that I can control the shift servo a little better. Once in a while it would act up and then kicked out. I don't know if the adjustment, the trim was off, and it was overheating the servo and kicking it out. Didn't really give me too many issues, but I noticed when I was going up the hill, every once in a while it'd kick itself out. So the controller I have for this doesn't have much as far as options as far as tuning that channel for the servo. So that's on the agenda. Obviously, you need a long wire to run from this box where everything sits and is hidden. You need to run the battery wire all the way through underneath and then into the battery box in the rear. So you need quite a bit of wire for that. So I don't know if in the kit, if they make you buy all that, which I'm assuming they would. Let's see here. But like I said, the body is pretty sweet. I like it. They did a good job on it. Yes, I have to smooth this out. It was cut up before, but I had to cut it out to fabricate the winch in there. So I'm going to bring home my Dremel and I'm going to smooth this all out, give it another paint job. I'm going to clean up the grill a little bit. All this had to be modified to fit the bigger winch. I really don't want to cut into the body, but you got to do what you got to do to make things work. Like I said, there's a front mount to it. You got 2 screws in there, and then that'll hold the body on, and it stays locked in pretty well. I don't ever do that because most of the time I really don't beat on these things to the point where the body ever comes off. If it looks like it's going to roll, I'll stand next to it. I don't really want it to roll. Like I said, it's not like I could go to my local hobby shop Fields and say, hey, I need a part for this Cross RC HC-6. They're going to laugh at me and say, all right, well, we can order it for you, but it's going to take a bit. Just like if I was to order it online, it's going to do the same thing. But talking to Greg from Fields, that they don't really have them. They don't really have these in stock, any Cross RC trucks, but according to Greg, and I think Jay said the same thing, they can get them. So if you are looking for a Cross RC vehicle, you can talk to Jay. Jay said he can get them. I don't remember, this was a while back when I was talking to him about certain kits, and I would like to support local. So if I can get, which I'm waiting for that new international style tow truck to come out, and I'm hoping it's not that $2,500 price tag. But once again, this thing is solid. I didn't really do any upgrades. Only upgrades I plan on doing is, like I said, cleaning up the body from me mounting the winch, fixing the lights. Probably still trying to figure out a light to get inside there. Let me see. That's another sorry, Thomas. Let's see. And like I said, fixing the lights, the grill, adding the fusion. And like I said, I'd like to figure out what I can do to the canvas top to weatherproof it so that when the old poop mud gets on there, it doesn't sit here and stain it like it has done in the past. And once again, change out the winch line, do that 300-pound test stuff, and maybe a winch in the rear. But like I said, this is next on the bench as far as getting some upgrades and being used more. Once again, HC-6 Cross RC, love it. I know Mike Crawl loves it. I also know that this truck cannot go to Mike Crawl if it ever leaves me. It has to go back to Deemer, and Deemer said that. So, Mike, you would have to. What about using that shoe waterproofing spray stuff? That is one thing I thought of too. I have a lot of that, and I'm assuming it should be fine. I have a whole can of that, and that's what I was going to try. I was going to try to do the inside first to make sure it didn't discolor it or anything, because if it happens in the inside, obviously nobody's really going to see it, so it ain't going to make a difference. So if that works on the inside, I'm going to try it on the outside. I think that stuff is probably going to be the best bet as far as that canvas top, because it's pretty thick. I know most of you guys, even if I had it out here and showed you, you guys probably wouldn't be able to see the thickness of the material, but it's pretty durable. And the only other thing is, the thin wires. So they clip in these little holes here. I think you guys can see them, but there's little holes here, there, right in the front. So it clips in those holes, but I noticed I'm going to have to bend them a little different because they're made to go straight in, and they're just kind of like on an angle. And I noticed when I was hitting bumps and stuff, it was slowly lifting back up. So what I'm going to have to do is probably just bend the bottom a little bit so that it kind of, when they go in, it kind of grabs the side. And I think that'll be all right without changing anything too much. The truck itself, I mean, like I said, even with the 1060 and the brush motor, it works really well, and it's somewhat strong, but it can't pull itself up a hill. Even in, like I said, high gear, all it wants to do is just spin the tires. There's no real oomph to get it started and going. So I think with changing out to a brushless motor, I think this thing is really going to liven itself up. But if you guys have any questions, I mean, you guys know I'm all over Facebook and so on and so forth. So if you have any questions about these trucks, like I said, I have 5 of the Cross RC trucks. The next one I'm going to pull out is going to be the Mammoth, but everything's going to have to be cleared off because the Mammoth is pretty much the size of this countertop or desk, or it's actually, to be honest with you guys, this is actually my roll around bar, and I don't really drink, and no, there's not vodka in this. It's just water with calorie-free and sugar-free flavoring, and I was quite parched from talking. So, but the next one is going to be the Mammoth, and I'm excited to show that off because that literally was one of the trucks I always wanted. And once again, it is another truck that I bought off my friend Mike Deemer. And like I said, I'm not going to tell you what I paid for it, but the thing is, I think, $1,400 on sale. And it's worth the money. I always wanted one. And it's one tough truck. And this is really what I want this to be as well. Another tough truck, but look good and, look the part. But on that note, I'm going to throw this to the side somewhere here. Actually, I'm just going to set off camera because I don't want to set this on the stool next to me, because if it falls and breaks, you guys will see me have a heart attack right on a live stream, and then the live stream will go for like hours because my wife won't check on me. So I'm going to throw this over here. And I know the picture, the thumbnail was of the HC-6, but this has been sitting underneath a cover for a while. And this is my pulling truck, my Dodge Power Wagon pulling truck. Yes, I know these are a little, because I planned on cutting them down so they weren't so high up in the air. But this is the old Power Wagon pulling truck. Me, when I go to the polls, I have to videotape. Well, I don't have to videotape. It's just what I like doing. And this is, I made the decision today as I was looking at it. And this is going to go to Tom, since I will be doing more live feeds from there, so you guys can see the actual polls. You can see the camaraderie, the friendships, everybody having fun. I would really like to show everybody more of the polling aspect of RC. I'm going to put this up here because I'm getting thirsty. But the polling, I would probably have a blast running the trucks. But I also have a blast, as most of you guys know, recording, videotaping, and doing now the live feed from there. We tested everything. Everything works good. So I'm going to have a blast with that. And I'm not going to be able to walk away from it and do this at the same time. So I made the decision today that this is going back to Tom. It was originally Deemer's. I don't remember how I acquired it, bought it, traded. I really don't remember. But added the rear black wheels, painted the front wheels with the spikes to match. I always wanted to do some kind of interior in there to kind of hide, seeing all the electronics. I also wanted to make a side cover so that it hides a lot as well. It really just needs to be tested and a new RXTX put in it. These will come off. But I told Tom to go crazy, but do a paint job that really wasn't out there, and he killed it on this color. It's like a bronze brown goldish color. He did a nice gold Dodge logo in the back. He did a nice blacked out Dodge grill in the front. I know you guys probably can't see it really good because of my lighting, but he killed it on the paint job. And it sat on the shelf because it looked really good, and I really didn't have time to pull, because when I'm doing the videos, I would never get a chance to get my own trucks, down the track and video and record them. So basic setup. I don't have anything special in this. As far as steering servo, I have a stock Spectrum because, this thing really doesn't need much to turn these wheels going down the track. So just a stock Spectrum receiver or steering servo. There's really not much to it. The chassis, I don't remember where the chassis came from. I don't remember. I'm pretty sure the gearing was already set in it. I really just had to make some adjustments to this to get the body. When it was weighted well, and it worked really good. The weights that we used are still on the rear. I don't remember what happened to the box. I think I took it off at Tom's, and he used it on one of his trucks because we were going to make a different battery box or a different weight box for the front. But once again, it's been so long that I can't remember. This is a Quick Run 10 BL120 censored brushless setup with a quick run, surge, brushless, 3650 G2, 10.5 turn motor. We don't have a pinion gear on it yet, because once again, I didn't know what we were going to need. I didn't want to run too big, too small, and the next thing you know, it's just doing this, or it just has no oomph. This setup has been in it before, and it worked really well, so I just left it in it. Easy to switch on and off right from the side. But pretty basic. But once again, I know that Tom will be able to use it while I'm doing a live feed, and it will look good going down the track. So I wanted to show that up because everybody's going, "Oh, I know you had a pulling truck. Where is it? How come you don't bring it out?" Well, like I said, with me going to be doing the live feeds, I'm not going to be able to walk away from the computer that much. So, especially if you guys have questions and want to chat during the polls. So, another little thing, when I do the description, I will put in there some information about the tractor polls and when they are, which is the first Saturday of every month. Let's see, unless there's a holiday, sometimes I'll do it on the second Saturday, or unless I think Joe has the Worlds coming up and the Spring Nationals and stuff like that. So, but there are always information on the Reckless RC page. We try to post it on the West New York Scalers page as well. So there's always information out there. I will post a link as well to Joe's Legends of RC Pulling, so you guys can see that. I know this wasn't part of the topic today, but I just had to show it off. I always like the look of it. I mean, I would like to change the body a little bit in the center so that it has a flatter look but keeps that low stance. Like I said, but it's going to go to Tom, and I know he'll do right with it. And then I will still get to see it all the time, and now I will actually get to see it going down the track. So, on that note, I think we are done. Don't really have anything else coming up. I will be doing another live feed tomorrow, which we will be talking about a couple releases that happened last week. One's going to be a pre-order, and I think the Losi is still a pre-order as well. But we will talk about some of that stuff, as well as I want to talk about the April 16th charity event, because that's still a couple months away, but I want to show off some of the stuff we have for it, for giveaways, and kind of keep on the topic of keeping it, in the conversation. I haven't really talked about it in the last few weeks because with setting up the studio with the new podcast kind of area, which if I rotated the camera, you would see the podcast area. But I've been rewiring headphones and microphones and wiring up everything for the sound controller, wiring up everything for the laptop so we can all communicate still. I've also been working on how to have people join the interview process with just a click of the link, and they can go on their phone, or if they got another webcam or studio or whatever, they can join in and we can have a conversation. So practice that during the week. It worked out really well. I did it with myself and a phone, so there's a lot of weird echoes, but I think I have it tuned in pretty well. I have to get with my brother and adjust his microphone for his voice, as well as adjust the headphone. So, on that note, again, I think we are done. I want to thank all of you for joining in. Once again, I will be live again tomorrow because I love doing this, because I don't get to see and talk to new people and get to see and talk to my normal friends that I see all the time are seeing, because it's cold outside and I'm a crybaby and a wimp and I don't go outside if it's cold because I don't want my stuff to crack and break. So, on that note, take care. Thanks for joining in, and I will see you next time.